Hello and welcome to the Self-Confidence for Immigrants show. My name is Mustafa Hussaini, and today I have yet another amazing guest. My guest is Olga Szakal. She came to America, to Washington State in the early 90s as an international student on a full scholarship with $400 in her pocket. She cleaned 6,000 square feet houses to send money back to Russia to support her parents, who lost everything due to a horrible inflation. From a poor student to working for one of the biggest US corporations in sales, then to a real estate investor who ended up having a more than $1 million real estate portfolio and living in one of those 6,000 square feet houses with her husband and 4 kids. She went from a single mom of 4 to CEO of her own international company called To Chutzpah, where she trains and connects virtual assistants and freelancers to businesses. Olga, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Mustafa.
Thank you. So Olga, what is your immigration story? Where do you come from? How was it for you? I know we touched on it briefly, but please give us some more details about your story.
I was very fortunate. I got here on 4-year full scholarship in early 90s. Excuse me, I need just, it's my coffee. It's still my coffee time.
Sure.
I came to Seattle with $400, and I came alone. And I remember my parents, my best friends, everybody told me not to go. Like, where are you going? By yourself. Being a young female, being blonde and attractive, you're gonna be in trouble. And they were right, they were right just for 24 hours. The first day I arrived, the funny story, I had a few friends who helped me. They officially had to sponsor me to arrive. The American government would ask, like, who are your sponsors? So I had an American family, Bud and Diane, thank you if they are watching. And they sponsored me, and they invited me for popcorn and movie time. And that very night, on the way home with this old VHS cassette, the video.
Yeah.
That was on the quiet street. That was a shooting with 5 police cars and teenagers laying down on the ground like this. And I said to myself, my parents and my best friends were right. Where did I come? America, they're shooting, they have guns. So it was my first 24-hour experience in America. It's the only little regret I had. So the rest of the story is beautiful.
Oh, good.
And my friends assured me that it was the very first time in their own lives. Like, we swear it had never, ever happened before. But it happened on that very night when I arrived. So
oh, wow. So you saw some shooting on your first night.
Well, and it was just a very innocent, what turned out to be just teenagers without any supervision found a gun and were just literally shooting in the backyard, apple tree. They just had fun with apples, shooting apples. But it really sounded very loud, and the neighbors called 911. But it was beautiful, like in the movies. Like, you grow up, I know you grew up in Iran. I grew up in Siberia, and at the end, before I came, early 90s, we had a lot of American movies, and they were all poor quality, right? They were like cheap or free movies. And they all were about shooting and police, and it's how basically it's what you thought about America a little bit, right? Like, oh, there's high crime and probably part of Soviet Union propaganda. But anyway, I came with $400, and the first thing I remember, as America is a country of opportunities, the most free country in the world, I looked around, and you know how the word hustle is very popular these days?
Yeah.
I remember I looked around and I said, oh my gosh, there are tons of hustles. Hustle means there are so many ways to make cash, and cash is king. I remember I was so excited. I was like, are you kidding me? There's absolutely no excuse to be poor in this country.
Yeah.
So I started cleaning houses. I figured out that you don't have to just clean the houses. Just find the most upscale community, take a bus, go there, get the clients, start with, upper class. They pay better, the houses are cleaner. Then I had other Russian students who would work for me. So it was my first business in America. And the funny part was, I remember talking about mentality and talking about the, that mindset we entrepreneurs have. It's so important. Doesn't matter where you came from. Doesn't matter if English is your second language. I think the key to success, to really thinking outside the box and have this unfixed mindset. The funny thing about this, I had a friend, very dear friend, who were laughing at me and said that I would never, ever clean anybody's toilets. I remember that attitude, like, you have a bachelor degree. I came from Russia as a teacher of English as second language. I had a bachelor degree. I had my summer business where I was a translator. But I never thought that it is below me, beneath me to make cash. So I think if we have this attitude, it's never below or beneath you to make cash. If you provide the value, the service, I did my best. I was the best cleaning. I provided the best cleaning service. But the funny thing, or not the funny thing, maybe sad thing, I met the same friend 25 years later, and she still lives in an apartment building. And I'm not judging here, I'm just observing, where we can observe things and make a conclusion. You see,
So that's the person that didn't want to clean the toilets.
Exactly. So it was beneath her. She has a bachelor degree from Russian university too. The same here. But it's attitude. It's like what you do right now. And this is my message. Whoever is watching us, or dear viewers or listeners, this is the message. Your past doesn't define you. Your job right now, maybe you are right now cleaning houses. Good for you. That doesn't define you, because you know who you are. And it's a temporary solution to make that cash. Or while you're building this business of yours, why don't you go and clean houses? Like, nothing wrong with that. And it's so funny. Also, I was following for a while Marie Forleo. She's one of the biggest online marketers, female marketers. She has, I think, her own online marketing school, B School. And in one of her interviews, she said the same thing. I did not know about her. While she was building her business, which is now multi-millions business, she was like me. She was cleaning houses and she was working at the bar. I think she was making cocktails, and she said it was a lot of tips and more cash. So again, what you do right now, I want to encourage your viewers, doesn't define you. So don't give up those dreams. It's temporary. Just keep hustling. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. No, I think you hit it on the nail. You got to do what you got to do. I remember I was working construction jobs, shoveling and pushing wheelbarrows, and working as a helper, doing heavy job like in landscaping and whatnot. You just got to do what you got to do. I agree with you. Nothing is beneath you. And let me just briefly touch on that people with confidence will do whatever it takes, right? So here's a little tip for people that are watching. If something is beneath you, that may be a result of confidence or a self-esteem issue, right? I'm just saying, I don't mean to piss people off, but people with high confidence get things done.
Yeah, and of course, look, we're not here to put anybody down. I mentioned my friend. I still helping her. By the way, I was thinking about her today. I gave her 2-hour absolutely free marketing consultation with the same lady I'm talking about. So I'm still friends with her. There's no judgment, and it's opposite, because you and I, right here, right now, we're trying to help. Like hey, learn from my mistakes. And also, you know how people say never ever compare? It's another thing I disagree with. This is the message today. Do compare. If I came to this country with $400 and I'm very successful and I'm building my cozy, small business empire, which I'm happy about, there's no reason you cannot do that, right? So this is very positive interview. This is very positive. I watched your interview with other entrepreneurs who were not born in this country, and I love your YouTube channel and your program. It's a good idea.
I appreciate that. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you were facing as an immigrant?
Well, of course, I think we humans, we have certain insecurities. Being self-confident person doesn't mean that you never have insecurities. Number one, I remember I went to one of the local drugstores, and my English was okay. I was a teacher of English, a second language. My English was more British. I would say things like, what a pity. And people will laugh and say, don't say that. We say, it's too bad. Or I would say, nice trousers. And people would say, no, we say pants. So I had to make some adjustments. But to answer, one of my insecurities was, of course, English as second language. I remember I went to one of the local drugstore to buy something, and there was a sales tax, and I couldn't comprehend why Washington State would like violate your desire to purchase something and put another 9%. So I understood what the lady was telling me, but it didn't make any sense. So I like to question things, and I kept asking like, what is this sales tax about? Doesn't make any sense. In Russia, we didn't have any sales tax. So this angry manager comes alone and she looks at me and she goes, do you speak any English? And of course, this is my insecurity came out. I was like, oh my gosh, it's my English. People don't understand me. So for like next 24 hours, I remember I cried. And I was working also in a library on campus, college campus. I remember I went to my supervisor and I said, do you understand my English? Like, do you, like, tell me the truth, like be blunt. Like, oh no, it's perfect. I would never hire you to work in the library, organize all these books if you would not read or talk English. So yeah, it happens. You probably have funny stories. That lady crushed my confidence. For 24 hours, I cried. But it's a lesson to us. I realized that maybe she had never traveled before. She had never ever heard anybody speak accent, or she just had a bad day, right? So the conclusion is yes, insecurities come and go. It's very important to melt down, like have a meltdown session, cry, whatever. Like for female entrepreneurs, we cry, but then get up and say, okay, is it me? Is it her? Did she have a bad day? So tell me your story with your, did you have any?
I remember the first time I went to McDonald's to order fries, and I went to the McDonald's here in downtown Calgary, and I looked at the menu, and I looked at the guy, and I said, I want some fries. And he said, what? I said, you know, the fries there. The guy starts laughing, and he just, that's fries. I'm like, yeah, that. Then, so he gave me the fries, and then I think I couldn't understand what the price was. I think he said $2.99, and I said, "Oh my God, $299 for this?" He goes, "Yes, $2.99." And then so we had an argument. I guess I don't remember if we had an argument or not, but I remember walking out of that store not feeling great, and it was a matter of my English. So it was that day, and then probably another couple of occasions when I said, this is not going to happen again. I'm going to work on my English. And I worked on my English at least 1 or 2 hours a day. To this day, 17 years later, I still work on my English. I read books and I don't understand words, and I go in the dictionary to try to find pronunciation of words and whatnot. And I'm sure I have multiple stories like that, which I think we all do. We all do. And that's, I guess that what helps us build and boost our confidence. I mean, at the moment it happens, we don't feel good. We feel like shit. I mean, for a day or two, and then, you know, but then we learn from it. And I think the point is to learn from it and move forward. Some people get stuck; they stay there. Well, hopefully you won't. What were some of the other challenges that you faced? You know.
I'll answer your question. I just want to bring up this point because I have a friend who is originally from Denmark, and her English is beautiful, more British. And a couple of years ago, we had the same discussion where she would not move forward with her business, saying, oh, I need to improve my business English. The obstacle is my business English is not sufficient enough. So what I want to point out, there are two extremes. One extreme, yes, my English is my second language and do nothing. You're right. I still have my app. I recommend everybody, dictionary.com. They send me one brand new word every day, and I go there and I memorize, and then I practice on my children, right? And practice on other people. And most of them who are born here, don't know those words. So we're already ahead of the game. So one extreme, to identify the problem and do nothing. Another extreme, as you know, to take that as an excuse to do nothing, or for your business. Let's talk about entrepreneurs. If you have hesitation to double or triple your profits this year, and you say, well, because English is my second language, I cannot get there. So this is another extreme. So don't allow us having English as second language as an obstacle. And I want to give an example. I always talk to my clients who are immigrants. I say, what about Ariana Huffington? Ariana Huffington, the founder of Huffington Post and the author of best-selling books. And she also tried to have her political career in California state. She has a very strong accent.
Yep.
And when she was running for the governor of California, people were making fun of her very harshly. And one of them, I remember, said, first go and improve your English and take ESL class, and then come back and run for the political office. Did that stop her? No, she kept going. She didn't win, but she ended up selling Huffington Post for millions of millions, right? And then now she's the author and she keeps moving. So another extreme, don't allow that English is a second language stop you. It's absolutely BS. It's not true. But again, another extreme, like you said, study, continue studying. It is your second language. But again, the good news is when I was working for one of the biggest American corporations in the world, it's a huge corporation. My managers would email me this instructions or what to do or just feedback, mistake after mistake, So our English, because we are so aware of that, we have this very strong self-awareness regarding our language. We pay more attention. Guess what? Our grammar, spelling is so much better than native, local, I call them real Americans. No, not real. I'm real American. Like, I love this country. You're real Canadian. People who were born here. It comes easy to them, right?
Yeah.
But to answer your question, my other obstacle was being female entrepreneur, and I think you might relate to that too, because you're a parent. As soon as you have children, as soon as you create a family, it takes a lot of energy. And my conclusion is, like, I'm looking back when I was investing in real estate. Of course, I can hit myself on the head and say, I should have invested more. Why did I just invest it in this particular properties? I would easily 10x whatever I have done those 5 years of my investment. I would easily, if I knew what I know now, I would 10x that. It's not going to be $1 million, it would be $10-20 million. But I stopped because we go through different stages in our life. I had babies in diapers. I had my father who was struggling with cancer, and it took a lot of energy and time. I took care of him because he did not speak any English, so I drove him to every medical appointment and chemotherapy. So what I want to encourage, and my other encouragement to your listeners today or viewers, is I know you are ambitious entrepreneurs. I know you have huge dreams, but also don't forget to give yourself like a lot of love and self-compassion.
Oh, yeah.
You are right now where you are because you are maybe in a special zone or special stage of your life. For example, you young mom or you new mom and you have babies in diapers, or you recently divorced. Like, I unfortunately had to go through divorce, and it took a lot of energy and time away from my business vision. So instead of hitting yourself in the head and say, oh, I should have, I could have, rewrite your story right away. No, I'm a good person. That self-respect and confidence is still here, but just give yourself compassion. You are a parent, you have a little kid, you have a sickness in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So again, two extremes, doing nothing and take all that what I just mentioned as an excuse. I cannot do this because I have a baby in the diaper. I cannot do this because I have somebody's very sick in my family. So it's another extreme, do nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Another extreme is, as you know, a lot of entrepreneurs have they're very harsh. Like, you work with clients and like, oh, I should have, I could have. And I say, absolutely not. That word I should have has to be taken away from your vocabulary. Never go to the past. Like, unless it's a wonderful past, go there, revisit. Yay, I have done that. Self-confidence, by the way, is coming from those small and big wins we had. And I suggest for all of us to have a card, write down 3 top wins. For me, it was I came to this country with $400. I can do it. I remember when I was divorcing and I had 4 children and the youngest was in diapers. One of my dear friends looked at me and she said, "Welcome to poverty. You're going to be a welfare mom." And for 5 seconds, I was like, "You're right. What am I doing?" And then I looked around. I'm living in $1 million home with more than $500,000 equity. I have all this knowledge and energy and Hutzpa, my self-confidence and belief in me. There's absolutely no reason I will go on welfare ever in my life, right? So have those wins, write down on your card, carry in your wallet, carry in your purse. And when people say something to you or your inner voice tells you, "Oh, you're not going to do that," and all these fears come and try to choke you, pull out that card and say, "No, A, I have done that. It's not true. And B," so it's self-confidence comes from the good past, those
Oh yeah,
victories we had.
absolutely. I love the way you put it together. It's a combination of your experiences, and it's usually mostly the painful ones that build your self-confidence. I mean, you don't see people saying, "Oh, I went out and I sat on the beach and I improved my confidence." Right? It's always all these obstacles, overcoming all these pains and frustrations, then you overcome it. And at the time, it's like going to the gym. Your muscles hurt. You're like, "Oh my God, it's hurting." But the next day you look at yourself, you're like, "That was good. I like that. I learned from it." Next time you reach that problem, now you have a solution, right? It's easy now. You could like raise your head and be like, there's so many quotes out there. It's like we're built out of all the failures that we go through, right? And it just builds us. And I love the fact that you pointed on loving yourself, taking care of yourself. I read a book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. Have you read that book?
Yes, many times, and it has a gun. And on the cover of that book, there's a gun, right? It's like a
Yes.
good analogy. Like, if you don't love yourself, nobody will. Like, you will stop existing. I want to point that book was very important. I bought it as an audio version of that book. And it's funny you mentioned this book. You see, we didn't even talk about that before. I listened to this book at least 40 times. I memorized that book because he's talking about using that "I love myself" as meditation, as a part of your meditation, right?
Yeah.
But I think at that particular moment in my life, I needed that message. But now I have a little bit different message, and I think it's my self-growth. I say that I respect myself, and I'll tell you why. Because for that particular period of time, I needed to love myself. Now where I am, I need to respect myself. Because if I say I love myself, for me personally, my ego jumps out. And ego can be our enemy. So I learned, again, it's all about self-awareness. First, again, different stage of your life, message love yourself works perfectly. But then when we grow, it's about I respect myself so much that I will never do anything illegal. Or when I sell my product or I have coaching, group coaching, and I want to enroll more people, if that particular person is not the good match with my message, I say no. I say no to money. So I would rather lose that profit today than go against my beliefs or my intuition based on my values, my value system. So yes, I like that book. So if people still struggle with self-acceptance, you're right. I would highly recommend that book, Love Yourself, as your life
Amazing book.
stands on that.
Oh
Very
yeah.
short
No.
and very good. But
Yeah,
then,
I got it on Kindle or something for like $5 or something. Really good. And it's a short story. It was 40 or 50 pages on Kindle. I read it probably in a day. I kept reading and I read it before I was going to sleep. I started reading it and I just finished it. It's like, whoa, this is amazing. Loved it. Loved it. Love it. So the book again is called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
yeah, there is also
I will post a link to that on the description of the video.
yeah, the author also talks about that TED Talk, TED Talk, And I highly recommend audio version of this book. It's very short. I recommend it to so many people who are still in that stage where there's no validation. They need self-validation first before they can go to next level. But now I am on level where it's all about ego. It's so important to tame your ego. And I'm just finishing the book, Ego is Your Enemy.
Okay.
That's a good one. But don't go to that book if you didn't work on self-validation yet.
Yes. Yeah. Good. So how old were you when you got to America?
Well, if I answer your question, everybody will know how old I am right now. So let's just round up. It's all about number, right? It's
okay.
Age is a number. I was in my early 20s. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what were some of the fears that you were facing growing up in America? Right now or growing up? Just tell me about fears as an immigrant. You came here, you went to school, you started working. What were some of the mind chatter that was going on in your head?
It's a good question. So I don't want to sound arrogant, but fear, like to have fear, it's not a part of how I think. Because I think early on, growing up in Siberia without any certainty, like there's no certainty there. A lot of unpredictable, like future is so gloom. Your past is bad. Your past is even worse, and the future even more gloom. So I think I grew up thinking more about what is my plan B. I know some entrepreneurs disagree with me. They think that you have one goal and you stick to that and you just focus. And I'm saying is, yeah, you have your ultimate peak you want to climb to. But how you get there, there's so many zigzags. So to answer your question, if I have fear, any fears come and go, self-doubts, I always say, what's the worst case scenario? And what is plan B? For example, I was told so many times, don't go to America. Russia is going to be one of the best countries. We have these changes in economic structure. Where are you going? Russia is going to be so much better than America. And I said, oh, you're right. What am I doing? But then I said, wait a minute. What's the worst case scenario? I come to America, I study, I get another bachelor degree, I get American education, and I come back to Russia and I build new Russia. So I always ask my clients when they address fears or self-doubts, what is the worst case scenario? For example, if you want to start your own business, right? And then you are paralyzed, you get paralyzed with fears. So again, what's the worst case scenario? You will learn something new. You will meet amazing people like yourself. I just met you, and now we are connected.
Yeah.
We speak the same entrepreneurial language. It's not Russian or Farsi or English. It's entrepreneurial language. So you meet this amazing, I call them high quality individuals. Well, you don't make money as much as you wanted, but it's not the end of the earth, right? It's not the end of the world. So it helps me. I don't know, some people have problems with that, but what's the worst case scenario and what is my plan B? Always help me. Like right before this interview, I had problems with the microphone. Instead of feeling embarrassed, oh, I am so sorry and apologize, I was like, okay, what's the plan B? Forget about this microphone. I had a very good reason I didn't find it. Let's go to plan B. So I think that mentality will help you always snap out of that fear, self-doubt zone. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Can you share like what is your mantra? Plan B for me, it's my mantra. So like, what is yours?
I don't have a mantra. I just go, how do I fix it? I just start looking around or thinking. Well, one of my mantras is failing forward. So if you fail, then don't stop there. Because I see some people that they fail and they sit there, they cry and whine about it for a long time. I mean, you're right. Right before we started, your microphone was clicking, and then you started working on it. You didn't start whining about it. You just said, "Oh, let me go find out the solution, and we'll be back." Problem solved. I do the same thing. I don't sit around. And anyway, I just quickly come up with a solution. And if it's irrelevant, I just stop doing it, and I don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Good.
You're right. But I want to tell you that another small trick to that can be attached. And it's when I'm learning, when I was working with female entrepreneurs only. I think maybe it's because we ladies have hormonal stages every month, those critical days. So what I'm noticing when we are around that critical kind of zone, I think we have to cry and we have to have this meltdown um, period. Like in Russia, you know, and again, Russian mentality is a little bit different. In Russia, it was okay to cry more and pour out. Russians are very proud of this terminology, Russian soul. I don't know if you heard, but it's coming from a lot of Russian literature. That Russian soul is something very deep, and I think it can be healthy if we can bring that to our days. When we go through again fear or self doubts, or we lose, like we lost some extra income, or the business didn't go how we wanted to. It's okay. Like we have to give ourselves permission to cry or to feel sad, to feel the feelings, whatever it is, sadness, frustration, anger, to feel it. So I train my customers, my clients, women especially, to time. We need to time yourself. Like I allow myself, depends on the situation. I was like, for example, this year, I can say it was a horrible year. I had to go to the court, not once, twice. I had a lawsuit against me 2 times. So, but then I can turn around and say that made me even more tough. It made me tougher. But how did I become so strong? I had a couple of days. I asked all my friends and entrepreneurial business partners to pray for me and just support me emotionally. And I cried, and I had my Russian girls session when we sit together, pour out your soul out. Some red wine is involved. You know, I don't drink heavily, but red wine helps. A lot of candles, a lot of prayer, and a lot of tears and laughter and tears and laughter. But then this is the important thing. You literally say, Olga, you're going to do this for another 24 hours. Time yourself and then get up like nothing happened. It's in the past. You know, the analogy of palm tree. I'm moving my family to Arizona, from Seattle to Arizona. So I'm going to have 2 offices, one business in Seattle and one in Scottsdale. It's a suburb of Phoenix. And you go there and they have this beautiful, tall palm trees. And the analogy, it's about us entrepreneurs, and especially entrepreneurs who are not born here, and entrepreneurs whose English is second language, because it's easier for us to say, oh, it's my English, or if I only were born here, I would have more relatives to support me. How many times I said to myself, I'm alone like a palm tree. I don't have any relatives. I don't have any mom, pops, grandparents like who come and help you out if something happens. So my plan B is me. My plan B is like my mentality.
Oh yeah.
When things happen, like storm, palm tree doesn't break and doesn't pretend to be strong. I'm strong. It's not extreme. Palm tree bends over and flexes and stretches all the way to the ground.
And it comes right back up?
Yeah, and the palm tree will lose some leaves, which we're afraid. It's okay, go ahead, lose some. Cry out, complain. Complain is good if it's timed, but then we go back.
And then it grows some new leaves, right?
Exactly. Well, what's the big deal? My gosh, couple leaves here and there. And this is what people like. It's either everything or nothing, right? It's either I'm going to
Absolutely.
and break, or I'm going to lay down and never come back. So again, don't do any extremes. Yeah.
You touched on so many points. Self-acceptance and self-love. And then when you feel bad, or when you feel frustrated or you're in pain, don't avoid it. Let it be. Give yourself the right. You have the right, or give yourself the right to be mad or to be sad or to not feel good. If you avoid it, it comes out in different ways, and that's not pretty. Like, you're right. Give yourself 24 hours, 48 hours. Be in that state. Acknowledge that this is what's happening, and then move on. And then when you cry it out, when you talk it out, that it just works out perfectly.
Absolutely. And to have, like, again, for entrepreneurs, it's so important. That's why meet high quality people, because you need to have a circle. I'm calling this a circle. I have a very personal circle. I have two best girlfriends. One is American, who was born here, and one Russian, who is my Russian American friend. So they are my confidants. When I melt down, they are my dial. I talk to them, I Skype with them, they come over. But I will not do that with other entrepreneurial friends because it's not appropriate, or they will not understand what I go through. Or you can go to some of your relatives who are maybe very negative. They are your relatives, but they're not the right people. So again, be smart and savvy who is in your circle. For example, I have a business circle of my mentors and advisors, and I'm very, very careful who I take advice from.
Yeah.
So either for your business or for your personal life. Be very careful. Like when I say melt down, it's not like, how people sometimes misunderstand the word being vulnerable.
Yep.
Vulnerable doesn't mean that I'm gonna go on YouTube and pour my heart out. Absolutely not, right? Because there will be people, interesting point, when I had a lawsuit and I have a very good group, Facebook group, I posted without any details. I just really emotionally go through this really like one of the, I don't know if you ever were invited to go to the court. It's not pleasant, right? Like you cannot deny that. So I opened up a little bit and I said, just please pray for me. And it's not pleasant. I just want justice. And I am bringing so much goodness to people that I just kind of like want that karma back right now. Like I want to have good karma. And one lady posted, she said, if you're such a good person, nobody will ever invite you to the court and nobody will ever have a lawsuit against you. So immediately I unfriended her. She's blocked from my life. She's blocked from my life, from my circle. So it's very, very careful. Be vulnerable to those who are on your side. And be smart. Don't open up to people who will not believe ever in your mission, what you stand for. It doesn't matter. There's a nice Russian saying, never ever explain yourself to anybody, because your friends already know all about you and where you stand, what you stand for. Your enemies will never ever give you that approval. And what we do?
Yeah.
What do? We go to wrong people, relatives, high school friends, trying to explain to them what we're doing. I'm an online business. I'm building my business online. And like, what? Like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? And you feel like immediately, oh my gosh, I am crazy. They are right. So it's so important. You go and ask for advice, or somebody interviews you, or you hire somebody. Be careful, because they can really be wrong kind of people.
Oh yeah. What were some of the biggest pains and frustrations that you have been or are dealing with as an immigrant?
Such a good question. I can really go deep. I think one of my biggest, I was angry at God. I believe in God, in my creator, believe in this intelligent designer who created this earth and all of us. So I had issues with I fell in love with America from the very beginning. It was me, the American mentality, the capitalism, free market, freedom to hustle, freedom to be who you are, comparing to many, many countries, most countries in the world. So my biggest frustration was, if there is God, why I was not born here? Like, why did I have to go through trouble and living very poorly? And literally my first half of my life, I tried to survive. Every day in Soviet Union was a survival. You wake up and you're like, how am I gonna survive today, right? So you don't have energy and time to figure out about quality of life. You just need to really not to die. It's so dramatic. So I was mad at the universe, God in my case. It's God and the creator. Like, if you love me so much, if you made me,
Why are you doing this to me?
What in the world were you thinking? I was born like in the worst part of Russia, Siberia, 9 months of snow, and it's dark. My first memories, I remember 2.5, 3 years old. You wake up, it's dark, it's cold. I go to daycare for 10, 11 hours. My parents come, nobody had cars, they had to walk. They pick me up, and it's dark. So I remember my first couple of years of my understanding of existence is dark. So to answer your question, is that anger, like, why me, right? Like, if America is such a good country and I'm here, why I lived somewhere else first half of my life? And to answer the answer came. I got the answer, and the answer is, we don't know all the full answers, like why. I know we smart, intelligent people, we ask these questions a lot, right? Like, why it's happening to me? But I think there's another angle. Living there, it made me so strong. It gave me so much courage. I call it Hutzpa. I even named my company How to Hutzpah.
What does Hutzpa mean? What does it mean?
Yes, Hutzpah is a Jewish word. It's Hebrew word, which means basically how to dare to be brave. We are good people. We are really good people. We are lawful citizens. And that's why we need to exercise chutzpah every day, meaning stop apologizing for what you're doing, being shameless in what you're doing, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. You and I, we're here to make money. If you're not in your business to make money, your business will fail. We are salespeople. You are not an online marketer. I am not the founder of How to Chutzpah. I'm a salesperson. I sell because I help. So more chutzpah. We all have chutzpah, but it was dialed down. Our teachers, Soviet Union teachers dialed down, because it was supposed to be everybody like else. All 12 years in my school, you were supposed to sit like this. And then you go to the society, your parents, your friends, as you know. So dial down your personality, your hunger for success, dial down, be like everybody else. So chutzpah is this desire and ability to think outside the box and get out of that box. I was thinking about today, who created that box? Was that box, you know how people say, think outside the box. Was that box created by you, your own limits? Or somebody else programmed you and made you to think, oh, I have to dial down, I have to be like everybody else, I have to shut up, I have to not to be visible. So chutzpah is that being courageous and stop apologizing. How many people, good people, you meet every day, your entrepreneurial friends, your business partners, and they apologize, right? Like, I'm sorry, don't apologize. We are good people. So then the bad guys come and they use chutzpah as being pushy and aggressive and merciful, like no mercy. And the people are like, oh, chutzpah is a bad word. So funny, I hired a copywriter. He was highly recommended, and he's a very well-known. And the first thing, he goes to my website and he tells me what to change. And he says, have you thought about changing chutzpah? It's a really bad word. Just take it off. And I said, that's why I'm not going to take it off. This is my brand. And if you think it's pushy, we have issues. We need to talk. But it's so funny. Chutzpah becomes a test if people, your kind of people. Like if people say, oh my gosh, I love your company. That chutzpah name, I grew up with my Jewish grandma or my Jewish neighbor. It's so cool. Like, I get it. So, oh yeah, thank you. Thank you, God, it's my people. And people are like, oh, have you thought about changing the name? It's really embarrassing. You need to dial down. You need to dial down. I was like, okay, thank you for sharing.
Thanks for sharing. I like that response. Yeah, when people give you things that are irrelevant, just say thanks for sharing. I appreciate your feedback. And then move on. Good. So what were some of the events since you moved to Seattle that helped you shape your confidence? Be like, this and that happened, and then later on, or these could be stories that you use that, helped you become who you are and become more confident? What are some of the examples?
Yes, it's a good question. First of all, again, number one, do not take no as the answer. And again, growing, I don't know about your country in Iran, in Soviet Union, no always meant tell me more. Because even nowadays, I'm talking to some of my Russian friends who I'm still in contact. Bribing is still a very well accepted thing. So when people say, for example, I need to fly to another Russian city, and I say, I need a ticket, and the person will say, no, it means talk to me, tell me more. So I slip $5 into my passport, my paperwork, and she's like, oh yeah, I just found one tickets right here on the computer. So when people say no, it means yes, right? Just tell me more. So number one, never ever take no for the answer. I came to America and I was told so many times, first of all, my Russian doctors told me never have children because I had some heart disease they couldn't figure out. So I had 4 healthy children. So it's like, okay, when somebody says no, don't do that, just question. Again, because we are good people, it's okay to question. Number 2, to give you an example, I wanted to work for American corporation, and I tried to get interviews. It was very hard because my resume was literally half of the page, right? So people would just literally say, no, thank you. So I had to figure out plan B. I hired recruiters. There's an entire army of recruiters. And I talked to them sweetly, tried to sell myself and my skills. And one of them, again, famous recruiter, she's like the recruiter of all the recruiters of Northwest. She called me back. She's like, look, I'm doing you a favor. You will never, ever get hired. Your English is second language. You have an accent. You just started driving the car. They want, good drivers. And she gave me like 50 reasons. And I didn't say, oh my gosh. I said, tell me more. So I kept listening because I remember I was taking notes. Like, okay, English can be improved. Check. Driving, I'm a good driver. I can improve my driving skills. Check. So she gave me 50 reasons and I looked at them. They all can be fixed. Okay, so I was like, and I'm still on the phone. She said, oh, I thought you would just hang out by now. I said, no, tell me more. And she ran out of reasons. And then I remember I told her, I said, you know what? All these reasons are nothing. They all can be fixed. And the only difference between you and me, you're a citizen, you can vote. And I'm American resident, I cannot vote yet. It's the only difference between us. And I got a job after my first interview. And that company was purchased by another company. And I ended up working for the biggest pharmaceutical corporation in the world. And that one recruiter, this star of recruiters, told me no. She said, you will never be ever hired by a company. So I think as soon as somebody says no, this is a signal for your self-confidence. Find out, just relax, don't react. Find out what are the reasons, what are they talking about? And just laugh about it. That can be fixed. That can be fixed. My accent? No, I will always have an accent, but it's not a big deal. Next. I remember when I was volunteering in a church, in the Sunday school, and one little boy came to me and he said, are you Japanese? And I said, no. Why? Because you speak funny. And I found out from his mom that they host Japanese students every summer. So he thought everybody who has an accent is from Japan. And then he came back to me and he said, oh, I get it. You were born like that. That's why you speak so funny. So my joke is, I will always be speaking funny, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
Improved, but it doesn't bug me, and it's not the reason. So number one, don't take no for the answer. But again, it's easier if you have that magic card of all your achievements. I came to this country with $400. I did it. I got hired by this biggest corporation in the world. I did it. But everybody said no. Self-awareness. I think self-awareness is the key. Identify your strengths and base your life on your strengths. Nobody's perfect. We all have weaknesses, but they can be cute. They can be like we talk about accent. The accent can be cute and can be the plus, right? It can be a very good thing on your resume.
Absolutely. You touch, wow, you touch on so many good points. Um, uh, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I was going to ask you, when you, and I know this is a question for a lot of our viewers, when you got that call from the recruiter that told you everything in the world is wrong with you, you're not going to get a job, how did you, well, you took notes, what did you do next? Like, did you work on those areas and you start improving those? And then did you modify your resume? Did you work on your English? Did you work on your interview skills? How did you get that job? What was it like and then after what you did, what was the interview like? How did you get it?
Very good question. So number one, it's important not to react. When people give you feedback, even if it's the most unpleasant negative feedback, it is a feedback. So it's there for you to take it as the opportunity to grow. But of course, that ego will be hurt. Then ask yourself what I can improve, and some things you cannot control. Like there are some things I cannot control. I was born in Russia, I cannot change that. And then I also have a lot of, like, I call them mantras or comebacks. I have comebacks. When the situation comes and it's unpleasant, I have a comeback. So in this particular situation, I said to myself, it's just one person opinion. You can be more creative. You can go, I mean, you can be mean about it.
Yeah.
You can say it's one little small tiny person opinion. You can reduce to her to that point where she was so negative, she didn't give me any compassion or any understanding of my situation. I had a wonderful managers while I was working for my company, but I had one particular supervisor. I call them a manager from hell, and she tried to do the same thing. She tried to criticize me heavily, and she tried to put me down in front of big like crowd of co-workers, and it works. You take a deep breath and you say, this is just one tiny person opinion. And in her case, she was like 6'5", and she was wearing high heels. True story. She was and I would say, it's just one miserable giant's opinion. So like, why would I care, right? So it's very important to remember who you are. Feedback is good, but put that boundaries and say it's just one person opinion. You can learn from that. But again, you can go further. Is their own life successful? Is their own life is a good example? Would you like to be like them? Absolutely not. You don't want to be that negative and miserable and control and freak.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I believe I'm a strong believer in self-growth. Of course, I was a new driver, so I was driving and learned how to drive and improve my driving, paid attention, and other things, hired another recruiter. And then I interviewed the recruiters, and I was asking them, have you had any experience working with immigrants, people who have accent, people who don't have a citizenship yet, but I'm allowed to work here. I am American resident, because some of you think that's illegal, and maybe that was her fear of promoting me, and she thought maybe I don't have the right to be employed. So I interviewed a couple of recruiters. So again, find people who are your kind of people. They speak your language. Find those and work with them. So I found a very assertive, outgoing recruiter. He said, I love working with immigrants, and it's not a big deal. And I know exactly that you guys do have a working permit, nothing illegal here. So he was totally relaxed, and he helped me to get my next job. Again, so don't allow, like, sometimes people get this harsh feedback, and I know it's not pleasant, but remember who you are. We immigrants, I think we have even a bigger advantage than person who was born here, because we have the understanding of the world, because we came from different country, but we already overcame so much. Where people who were born here, it was given to them, right? English is a such a beautiful language. It's a language of Shakespeare. Recently, my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was in theater, Shakespeare play. And I was sitting there and enjoying Shakespeare language. It's beautiful. It's very poetic. It's like a song. And my American friend next to me, she said, I don't get it. What is it all about? Can you translate? So I was sitting there at the end of the play and translating, kind of explain to her what's going on. So I have this advantage of understanding Shakespeare because I was trained as a teacher of English, a second language, where she speaks English, took it for granted because it's so easy, right? You were born talking to this language. So we immigrants already have a big advantage. I want to encourage you viewers and you listeners that take it, rewrite your story. You're not a poor immigrant who speaks poor English. You are a person with this wider world view. You're already 2 times richer than a person who speaks only one language. I remember Russian writer Leo Tolstoy, the author of War and Peace. He said, how many languages you speak, it's how many worlds you understand. So you and I and your viewers and your listeners will already at least double or triple richer of understanding of people, humanity, all the philosophical laws of life. We're already so much wiser because we went through. I know your story by talking to Patrick David. He's from Iran, like you.
Yeah.
He said that he last 2 years of his life he experienced the real war and shooting and bombs. So I mean, if you went through that, I didn't go through the war, but in Siberia it was struggle every day. So it's already, we have that start line so much higher and more concrete, more solid than people who maybe were born here and so lucky to have relatives. And like, you know, the question you asked me, what else I was struggling with for a couple, maybe not years, but months. I had very good American friends who came from wealthy American families. And here I am, Russian student, literally having $400 and counting every penny because I knew that I need to stretch it as long as I can. And they go to Nordstrom, high retail chain in here, and buy one purse with $400. Of course, being human, I went through this like, are you kidding me? I saved every penny. $400 for me, it's like right now, it's like 40,000. It's how much money it was then for me. And they go and they buy purse. I was never jealous, but I was always about like being a little bit bitter, like why I was just not born here. I would have this grandma and grandpa. And the answer came to me when I became successfully on my own. The answer is these people very lucky to have grandparents and moms and pops. And where are they now? They have full-time job, they struggle, they still, their self-growth is here, you know, the struggle.
Yeah.
And again, we don't judge them, we observe, right? So when we were in our 20s, we were together here and they were here. They drove cars, I didn't have a car. I knew how to drive, I didn't have a car. They had 1 or 2 cars. When they purchased their first house, down payment was given to them, they were here. Now, 20 years later, I meet them. I'm here and they're here.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just financial stability.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about millions of dollars. I'm talking about here, self-growth.
You know, the good thing about, and I love the story you just mentioned. The good thing about the difference between you and the rich kids that you were hanging out with is you and people like you can survive. Okay? If they put you in the middle of I always say, if you put me in the middle of a desert, I'll survive. Because I've survived on my own with no backup of any kind. And it's the same for you. Like you were here on your own. And I think it would be, I don't know, it might be a little harder for women to be on their own. I don't know. I'm just saying. But I think the difference is you can survive. And the people that are just getting money from their parents, they may not be able to survive without their parents. So it's an amazing experience to, I think, to practice independence and to be able to survive on your own. It's such an amazing and sweet experience to learn that skill of survival. And you're like, you know what? I can survive. I don't care how the economy is. I don't care how the weather is. I don't care if, these people are around or not. I love that. Love what you just mentioned there. That's amazing. Um, Tell me a little bit more about that interview that you went through. Because I know a lot of people that I talk to, they're having issues getting jobs, right? How did you prep for your interviews? How did you, yeah, how did it go?
Yes, it's important to be prepared. I think let's forget about our past. Like we came from different countries, we're immigrants. So I think, first of all, let's work on your image. What is your image? For example, one of my clients is a Russian lady, and she came to me as a Russian entrepreneur who wants to expand her business. But then between the lines, she was repeating, saying, I'm so lonely. I just want to find a decent man. So we kind of switched, and I said, would you like me to consult you more like a life coach and help you out? Because it's one of my strengths. And she said yes. And she showed me her resume, not resume, but let's say the piece of paper with the ad. She was, I think it was match.com. And her image is, I'm a Russian immigrant trying to find a decent man. And I said, no, you are not a Russian immigrant. You're Russian American entrepreneur, businesswoman who doesn't have to have a man, but chooses to have a man because, A,
You
B, and C.
decided to.
So number one, I would talk to your viewers right now and say, let's forget about your story as immigrant. It's not appropriate for your interview. You're not the immigrant from Iran or Russia. You are the expert. You go to this interview as an expert. If you're a website developer, I'm working with my virtual assistants and freelancers right now. I have an army. If you want to expand your business, if you are ready to delegate, contact me and I will match you. It's a free service. I will match you with amazing VAs, virtual assistants, and freelancers. And
Yeah.
my first message when I interview them for a job, I say, what do you do? And they give me 50 things they do. I said, no, what one thing you do with your closed eyes and you love it. So number one, go to the interview as an expert. Confidence is right there because now you snapped out of that. Or I'm an immigrant or my English second language. That confidence will radiate from on your face with
Yeah.
your posture, with your how you that superwoman, superman position.
Yeah.
And you look at their eyes and say, I am the expert. I will provide the results. And of course, study. Number two, study what they're looking for and talk about that. Don't talk about yourself most of the time, but talk about the results you're going to provide. It's what they want. They want to pay for the results you provide. And number three, listen. Listen between the lines. Research the company. I remember, they ask the same questions. For example, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Be ready. So practice with your friends,
Yeah.
your workers, your business partners. People you trust in your circle. Your circle people, not negative people. Practice with them and be ready. Polish your interview skills. So number one, your image. Forget about you were not born here. Forget about you have an accent. Talk as an expert. Number two, research the company and practice. And they ask you, where do you want to be 5 years from now? And the answer is, I want to grow together with your company because I love A, B, and C about your company. It's wow. And I want to be a part of your team. Who would not like that?
Absolutely. So work on your image, prep for all the possible questions, and don't look down on yourself as an immigrant.
Absolutely.
You're the expert at what you're doing.
Yes, I'll give you another example. So now I'm not looking for being employed, but I'm looking for business partners and I'm looking for business savvy people to grow with, to grow together, to expand my business, to collaborate. And you meet people sometimes, especially, and again, I love male and female entrepreneurs. There's no difference. We are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But especially for some reason, there's this attitude among male entrepreneurs where they dial it down. They really kind of want you to be a little bit smaller, and they say, well, you're mom, right? So you want to make a couple extra thousands on the side. Here I am. So they sell their services to me or partnership. And they say, well, you're a mom and you want to make some extra couple $1,000 on the side. And I was like, no, you're not going to reduce me to this mom. And no, I don't want to this side hustle with 1,000 on the side. I want millions, not on this side, but right here in front of me. So what I want to say is sometimes it's not who we are and where we came from. It's them. It's people with a special attitude or mentality, male, female, or like that recruiter I mentioned my story, she was female. So I'm not like criticizing male versus female. It's not nothing like that. But just humans, we're all humans who have this limited beliefs or false beliefs, like a woman entrepreneur, she's a mom, and therefore I can dial her down to that mama level,
Oh, yeah. So Olga, tell me about, tell the viewers about your business. What is it that you do, and what is the service that you provide?
So I am in the middle of a rebranding a little bit toward, so I started as a life coach, and I helped a lot of women, especially my specialty was divorced women with broken hearts. And I help them, I'm a very good matchmaker, so help them to find that ideal partner for them. So it was a really good business, but that all translated into my passion is working with entrepreneurs. So women who were coming from divorce but wanted to start their business were my ideal clients. Then I expanded to working with male entrepreneurs as well. And now I am working on having my own agency where I connect, and again, it's business matchmaking. I connect entrepreneurs, small business owners, all the way to CEOs of bigger companies with virtual experts, virtual assistants, freelancers, and everybody benefits because, as you know, there's this army of new or relatively new online marketers. They are wonderful people with amazing ideas, and they're willing to help. They want to change the world, but the technical knowledge is not there. And there's this army of technically savvy experts, and they are running around. And like, how the first question when I hire VAs or I train virtual assistants, the first question is always, where do I get clients? And I'm like, hello, there's an army of online marketers. They are wonderful people, but not technologically savvy yet. So
Yeah.
here I come in and combining these two armies. I call them armies of experts on one side and technologically savvy experts on the other side, and everybody wins. Because as my mentor, Patrick Bet-David, always says, each time I make money, you make money. So these people in this army making tons of money because with help of virtual assistants, each time they make money, I make money. So everybody, it's a win-win.
So what would be an example of a business owner that could use your services?
Well,
You could
for
use
example,
virtual assistants for.
let's take the example.
Okay.
I know you're working, and you tell me more. You're working on online course for immigrants, right? How to be
Yeah.
how to be successful.
Yeah.
How to jumpstart your online business or small business if you are the immigrant. If you want, great. So you have so the results you are expecting certain results. You have the price in mind. You also have the idea of your ideal client, and you expect a certain amount of profit. Let's say 2 months from now. You look at your business plan, and it's clearly with your all other projects, which you are still doing on this already committed. You say, okay, Olga, I think it will take 6 months. I just talked to one of my potential clients. He is a video expert. He is one of the biggest documentary film producers. And he said, I want to put this huge video course, like everything I know, encyclopedia, but it will take 6 months. And here I come and I talk to him, I talk to you, and I say, it doesn't have to be 6 months. With the army of experts, we can take your idea and provide you results in 1 month. How does that sound?
Okay. So instead of 6 months, you kind of condense it down to 1 month by providing the right resources and the right talent. Good.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because you're smart and you're an expert in your own area. For you to get from this area here to this particular profit you have in mind or your business plan consists of, it will take 6 months, not because you procrastinate, because it will be a learning curve. I was there. I had a course, I had a group coaching to get there and to make it all how you want and at good level. It takes time, right? Because you and I would like to learn. We learn, we take online courses all the time. And what is it? It's a learning curve. It takes time and energy. So we can make that curve shorter, where you still learn, but you don't have to become an expert in all these 5,000 steps, because these people already can do that
They know what to do.
3 times faster.
Yeah. Good. And what is your website? Where can people find you?
So it's howtochutzpah.com, and Hutzpa is Chutzpah. I know it's hard to spell, but very soon everybody will know this word. Howtochutzpah.com.
Okay.
And right now I have a waiting list. I'm enrolling new virtual assistants and freelancers, and my agency becomes international. Talking about the good timing right here, right now, we're talking to immigrants. I'm inviting you to join my membership because I already have virtual assistants coming from Russia, Philippines, New Zealand, Australia. It's becoming so international. And I'll tell you why, especially countries like Russia and Philippines. I talked to this lady who is, again, extremely highly trained expert. She's in Philippines, and she said, I cannot change my government. I cannot control the government policy. But with the internet, with online marketing, I can become highly paid expert.
Oh yeah.
Nobody can stop me. Nobody can stop me. Only me, myself can stop me.
Yes.
But this is my platform. This is my membership. My training virtual assistants. I will be able to, I will blast so many people from Philippines, from Russia, even from here, like, again, women who are, men and women who are in transition, like you said, they are trying to interview for full-time job. Maybe there's another way. Maybe they can start making money today as a freelancer while they going through interviews.
Yes, absolutely. What would be your top advice for our viewers when it comes to, and I got so many questions and we're just running out of time here. What is the top thing that you do to improve your confidence? Or when you're not feeling good, what's the top thing that you do?
It's $1 million question, because when we know the answers, we can get there, right? We can get to that goal. We have financial goal, but also I tell my clients, like, I made good amount of money, good for me and my family, to get into this level where it's comfortable. It's very, very the comfort I experience right now, the level where you don't have to worry about your bills. They're all paid. You don't have any debts, maybe just one mortgage, very low. And that gives you so much freedom to learn, to help others, to that freedom. You will experience that freedom. So then money become so not important anymore. It's good to have it, but it's not like you can relax around money, because now you're like, money is a tool. I got there. It gives me freedom to enjoy life, but also to pay attention what's going on in the world. Like right now, I'm so excited about helping this particular group of ladies in Philippines. I will provide employment for them. The old 20th century mentality, employment. I will provide this opportunity for them to grow. So I was meditating on this today. So my company is How to Chutzpah, how to be brave, how to be courageous. And this is my answer. I was trying to meditate on this today to give you a short answer, because again, we don't have time. Number one, as I said, write down 3 top things you're proud of. Because we're talking to mostly entrepreneurs, right? Let's talk about, in the business way, like, what did you achieve? You're really, really proud. And it's easier for immigrants because number one, we were born somewhere else. We came here and we survived. Like you said, it was a desert. I didn't speak English very well. I had to go through cultural shock. We already have number one. It's already given to us. Check. So like people who were born here, they have to come up with that number one. For us, you and me, check. I came here, $400. You came here. Patrick came from the war zone. Check. Number one. So carry that card and remind yourself you survived. So nothing can stop you, only yourself, right? Number two, how do you chutzpah? How do you become courageous? Again, where do you want to be, let's say, a year from now? What results you want to achieve? Let's say your e-course. What do you exactly expect from your e-course? You have probably a specific number in your mind, right? You have probably, let's say roughly, you want at least 50 people in your e-course as a beta course, just to practice and see what message resonates with them. So you start with the end results. So here you are, but remember, you're already confident because I just said, remember 3 things, you like so cool, you have done that, you already have this Superman, Superwoman position, and that confidence already radiates, right? We didn't start from zero. But now the results, I want $50,000 in 2 months because I'm going to enroll 50 people roughly for $1,000. So, and then now how to chutzpah from here, already confident person, to results. You list every step. You need to create the course. You need to have some visibility, YouTube, Twitter. You need to have social media campaign. So just list everything. And some things there in that list, things you cannot control. So be philosophical about that. Maybe it's not a big deal. Again, I speak with an accent. It's not a big deal. You can cross it off from you. So you make all the steps, some of them obstacles, some of them steps. And then some obstacles, for example, I'm not technologically savvy. So what do? I call my VAs. I say, you are going to be my graphic designer for next month. And you create this graphic designing for my Facebook ad. You're going to run Facebook ad campaign for me. And I won't start with 50 cents. So you delegate. Now, number 2, you delegate all the steps which you cannot do, or you prefer not to, or it will take longer for you to do that. And number 3 or number 4, I'm already probably forgot about counting. Those things you think are not possible, have a mentor, have a good business partner.
Yeah.
Can talk to, and don't be shy or embarrassed, or this is the time to be vulnerable. Call me, now we're friends, call me and just vent out and say, I cannot go to this results stage because I have this obstacle. Don't know, I hired VAs, they didn't do anything, I wasted my time, my money. It's okay. So expect how you said at the beginning, fail, get up, and continue moving. So yeah, there will be some obstacles and maybe you will not achieve 50,000. So allow yourself to be vulnerable. You're not perfect. You're not superhuman. You're just human. So allow yourself, they say, fail soon and fail fast.
Yeah.
Include some mistakes.
Fail soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mistakes. Like I give you how to chutzpah, how to be brave, but also remember that self-compassion. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and not perfect. So on this path to the results, $50,000, you will make a couple of mistakes. It will be a learning experience. You're going to learn so much. You will learn what VAs you absolutely hate to work with. Certain type of people, they're not they cannot be your assistants. It's just bad chemistry. You're going to learn that some partners, you included them in that path. They're not good people for you for that project.
Yeah.
You can remove them from your circle forever or just for that particular time of period of time. And the last thing I want to mention, don't be alone. It's so important. Don't be alone. How are you going to get here? Not just VAs and freelancers, but who's your mentor? Who is your coach? Who's that person you can call and say, I don't know what to do. I'm just stuck. So it's okay to be stuck, but then say, what am I going to do about it?
Good. Yeah, important to work with people. Important awareness. my entire course on self-confidence is it's about awareness. So speaking of the list, I think the first thing in my course, what we do is writing a personal SWOT analysis. People usually do it for their business. We do it for ourselves. So write down your strengths, write down your weaknesses, and these are internal stuff. Then write down your opportunities and your threats, which are external stuff. Now, that awareness of what you have, what's out there, allows you to plan to get to your goals, right? And you just nailed it. Write it down, your top 3 things, your top 3 things that you're proud of, could be your strength, and then you can, at the time of, like, one of the things that I personally do when I feel bad is I review my goals, or I look at my bucket list, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is not where we're staying. We're going to this goal, or we're just going to tick off, items off my bucket list. I love what you just said. That's great. Olga, thank you for your time. That was a great interview. I'll have to watch that again and again, and make sure people do get to watch it, and use your experience, and use you shared a lot of good stuff. And for people that watched, she shared some gold with you. So you practice some of the stuff that she mentioned, and you'll be good.
And you promised me one thing. Before you finish your course, please call me or text me and just let me know how it's going, because I want to support you for sure.
I appreciate that. For the viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us today. Click on our subscribe button, subscribe to our channel, visit our website. On our website, we're sharing a checklist of top 10 things to do on a daily basis to boost your confidence. If you want that checklist, go on our website. I'll put the link on the description of the video. And if you know someone that I should interview, leave their name in a comment below, or contact me and let me know why I should interview them, and I'll reach out to them and do the interview so we could get their experience and get a hands-on step-by-step processes that they use and share it with you guys. Thank you, and